Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Cooley. I'm the Targeted Outreach Director for the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, also known as DFPI. We are right at 1 o'clock, so I do want to give everyone a little bit of time before we jump right into the presentation. So let's just give everyone one more minute and then we'll get started, okay? So thank you for your patience. One more minute. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Cooley. I'm the Targeted Outreach Director for the California Department of Financial Protection Innovation, also known as the DFPI. Welcome and thank you for joining our webinar today. We are starting our brand new series on protecting yourself from frauds and scams. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about how to protect yourself from tax scams. So let's jump right into it. First, a little bit of housekeeping here. Your cameras and microphones have been turned off for the duration of this webinar. But if you do have any questions, comments you would like to submit to us, please feel free to submit it into the Zoom's Q&A feature. We have a dedicated time at the very end where I'm more than happy to answer what questions I can. The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the presenter. They do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of the DFPI. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. This is not legal or financial advice. This is not especially tax advice because I am not a tax professional. But again, this is more for educational and informational purposes. We do have a dedicated inbox. If you do have questions, if you would like us to do presentations to your own communities, it is outreach@dfpi.ca.gov. Feel free to email us if you'd like a copy of these slides. This webinar is being recorded and we will be publishing it to our YouTube channel, and we will be sending a follow-up email which includes a copy of the slides to everyone who registered for the webinar. But if you do want to, again, another copy of the slides, if you want to do this presentation or other presentations to your groups and presentations and communities, please feel free to email us. Okay. I do want to quickly talk about the DFPI. Who are we? What do we do? What is our role? The DFPI is California's financial regulator. Our central purpose is to maintain a fair, healthy, and trusted financial marketplace for all Californians. We do this, and we do this through regulating and enforcing a variety of financial services, products, and professionals. And we also provide free presentations, workshops, webinars, seminars, all throughout California, again, to help protect consumers, to help inform them, and to prevent them from falling prey to frauds and scams. For more information, we do have a dedicated section on our website. The link to it is dfpi.ca.gov/consumers. That's where we publish our consumer alerts, our news alerts, a lot of financial education, as well as our community calendar, where we list a lot of different events, just like this webinar and other events in your community. So please feel free to check that out. One more plug, sorry, before we could jump into the actual content. The DFPI is offering access to free online financial education. We have a learning platform All you need to do is register with an email address, and then you'll have access to courses on topics such as budgeting, investing, retirement planning, debt management, paying for college, estate planning. There's a lot of different modules there. Again, open to anyone and everyone to access. You just need to register with an email address. The link to that financial education is dfpi.ca.gov/learn. Okay, I do want to start out by just talking a little bit about some tax scam statistics, and this all comes from the U.S. Internal Revenue Service, also known as the IRS. In 2024, because they're still compiling the 2025 data, the IRS received nearly 300,000 reports of identity theft. Also in 2024, individuals who were victims of tax-related identity theft were waiting on an average of nearly 19 months for the IRS to process their returns. So this is usually like, someone took their identity, right, and then filed a claim. And so then that individual still has to file a correct claim, and it takes about 19 months, a little more than years, like almost a year, a little more than a year and a half, for the IRS to process the actual claims and then get the refunds to the actual person. So it's a very serious issue. And in the first half of 2025, the IRS reported that there were nearly 300 instances of data breaches that impacted as many as 250,000 consumers. So data breaches, a big reason for identity theft, and the reason I'm talking about these scam statistics is I know, and I'm sure you're aware, tax scams on many different forms, and we're going to talk about the next couple of slides, all the different types of tax scams out there. It's very serious and affects many of us. So I've also listed on almost every one of these slides, there are links to references. So once you get the copy of the slides, feel free to read on your own, do some more research. We always and highly encourage that. All right, so let's talk about some current tax scams. Again, all of this comes from the IRS's website, and I've put a link below where you can check it all out. But I do want to quickly go over some of them, and you might actually have some questions about this. So please feel free to put it into the Zoom's Q&A feature. More than happy to talk about whatever ones I can. The first one is fake charities, right? You can't deduct donations you made to fake charities. So before you donate, verify that the charity is real. It's a 503c. There is a link to the IRS's website where you can search for tax-exempt organizations. I'll also plug Charity Navigator. I think it's charitynavigator.org. They're a really great website where you can look more into a charity if you're looking to make a donation to them and also claim a deduction from that donation. So look out for fake charities. That happens all the time. And kind of correlating with that, disasters, right? So sometimes scammers may contact you as a fake charity in relation to a disaster, but other times scammers may be impersonating IRS professionals or representatives. They'll call disaster victims, offering to help file claim losses and all sorts of other things like that. You can get help directly from the IRS. They actually have a hotline if you've been a victim of a disaster. I know it's coming up. We're right on the anniversary of the LA fires. If you need help, if you want to check out what kind of claim credits you might have, again, the IRS has a hotline which you could call. It's 866-562-5227. It is a direct line to the IRS where you could ask them questions and see what kind of deductions you might be able to be qualified for. And then we have unemployment compensation, right? So another current tax scam here. This is where scammers use your information to file fake unemployment claims, right? And that again, all part of the filing process. It may leave you with taxable income that you need to report because, again, it's a fake unemployment compensation. There's also tax credit scams, right? This is where scammers or even bad social media advice, right? Coming from those social media influencers, they make big promises about, making, filing for certain credits, right? Things like solar tax credits or maybe child credits of some sort, right? Taking care of your parents' credit, those old things. Scammers will do this, as well as certain social media influencers who may not be tax professionals. I always recommend everyone to do your research, right? If you're interested in a particular income tax credit of some sort, do your research. Go directly to the IRS's website. It will definitely have more information. More than likely, it'll tell you what form you need to fill out, what other qualified information you need to bring, right? Receipts, that kind of thing, documentation. So go to a legitimate source. Don't take information from social media or someone calling you, right? W-2 business emails, another current tax scam. This is where criminals email or contact businesses and payroll companies to steal W-2 information. They use names and social security numbers to file fraudulent returns for refunds or commit other identity type crimes. And so again, if you have a business, maybe you're part of the payroll department of another business of some sort, always be careful that scammers might be phishing for you, right? Maybe on LinkedIn you put out there that you're in charge of the payroll department of a company. Scammers could see that, and they'll contact you saying, "Hey, we're the IRS. We need a list of these individuals that might be working at your company." Right? Again, double check information, do your research. Don't just this is all a phishing attempt, so don't just give out that information. This is another type of tax scam, but it's a little more specific, right? It's a particular form called a W-8 BEN. That's where scammers use fraudulent forms to get personal information such as your mother's maiden name, passport numbers, PIN numbers, other passcodes. So this may not be related to, but you might hear it somewhere, right? Scammer calls you, they realize that you are maybe someone from out of the United States trying to file an income tax, and they throw out the form number and they're asking for, again, things like personal information, your mother's maiden name, passport numbers, that kind of thing. Just be aware of that, okay? Some more current tax scams, gift cards, a big one here. Very often that should be a big red flag. Scammers pose as the IRS and request gift cards as payment for a tax bill or fees or something like that. The IRS will never ask or accept gift cards as payment. Many government institutions, if not all of them, will not accept gift cards or cryptocurrency or digital assets as a form of payment. So just be aware of that, research it, right? If someone is calling you saying that you need to pay for a late filing fee or some kind of penalty and they want it done in a gift card of some sort, double check, make sure that that's a legitimate person or organization. Another type of tax scam is where scammers pose. They pose as the IRS. They offer services to help you create an online IRS account, which you can do, by the way. If you go to the IRS's website, you can create your own online IRS account where you can file your income taxes, you could track the status, all that kind of thing. But scammers will try to, again, offer these services for you. And really what they're trying to do is steal your personal information, right? They may actually create the account for you, but now they have access to it, right? They have the passwords, they have all your personal information. So be aware of that. The other thing here, the next one is overstating withholdings on your W-2 form or other tax forms. So this is a social media scheme encouraging people to include false income or change your income and withholding information on your tax forms and able to get a bigger return. Again, that's against the law. So look into it, right? Before you see some kind of social media influencer talking about some kind of tax hack you could do, look it up. Go on the IRS's website, find out if there's more information, before you do that. Okay. Two more. I know there's a lot of types of current tax scams. Again, all this comes from the IRS's website, and I'm just kind of going over high level. If you do want to read more, there's a link to it on the bottom of this page. It's the reference. So scams that are targeting seniors. This is where scammers call senior citizens and older adults with claims of tax owed or refunds. Scammers may claim problems with the tax filing or refunds or prizes or penalties. Scammers may pressure for immediate action. That's usually, again, we talk about this a lot, where they try to get you in that tunnel vision. They say, do this right now or else, right? We're going to send people after you. We're going to incarcerate you, that kind of a thing. They may ask for payment by wire transfer, gift cards, digital assets, right? Like cryptocurrency. So be aware of that. Those are all big red flags. Social media. There is so much stuff on social media. And to be honest, it's really, really hard to know if any of it is true. And so I always tell anyone who tells me or shares their story, I heard somewhere on social media, I would say go directly to a legitimate source, right? As an example, the IRS's website. So on social media, there might be bad tax advice, right? That could lead you about, different credits or refund eligibility. We talked a little about that earlier. There might be social media posts that will try to connect you with scammers, right? So they might say something like, get tax help, or it might say something like, filed late, you could get an extension. Click on this link, and it actually sends you to, again, scammers who have a social media profile presence of some sort. Just as a note, the IRS will never send you direct messages by social media, and that's because your social media account it's not necessarily an official account for you, right? So the IRS wants to get in touch with you directly. They will always do it through the US Post Office first. They will not try to find you on social media to try to connect with you. They'll do it by snail mail first. Okay, last one's here. Fake or unqualified tax credits. We talked about this. That's where scam promoters, social media accounts, dishonest and other uninformed tax preparers may misrepresent rules for claiming tax credits. We have tax or debt relief offers, right? You might have seen some of this on billboards or on TV, radio, where they claim they could settle your tax debts or any other issues for cheap. In reality, you can actually do a lot of this for free with the IRS. If you go to, again, that link at the very bottom of the page, the IRS actually has a lot of free help and a hotline which you can call and try to talk to them and figure out repayment plans, that kind of a thing. Tax professionals. So many tax professionals are actually legitimate and they're trained and they're good. But to make sure you're finding someone who's qualified, the IRS actually has a directory of federal tax professionals, and there's a link to it in this PDF that I'll be sending you. In this link, you can actually find a list of, again, those tax professionals, and you could look at them by their credentials and qualifications. So again, I recommend you go directly to the IRS's website to check on any tax professional, especially if you're shopping around. If you're looking for someone new, maybe you just moved somewhere and you want to find someone, check them on the IRS's directory. And then, of course, unclaimed refunds. Scammers may mislead you about unclaimed refunds and get you to provide your personal and financial information. I actually get a lot of these kind of calls, right? You get a voicemail or someone calls you and says that, hey, you have unclaimed refund. You need to call us or give us your information so that we can get that refund to you. Big red flag. Again, go to the IRS's website, find out if you do qualify for any particular refunds. And if worst comes to worst, you can always contact the IRS directly. Say, hey, I got a phone call. I don't know if it's legitimate. Is this true? Okay, more information from the IRS, right? This is more information how to identify, is it a tax scam? If an email, call, message, right, through social media or even mail, it could be a scam if it is unexpected, right? You get a call out of the blue. If the call or the email or the message is trying to rush you, right, or threaten you of any sort, it could be a tax scam, right? This is another red flag. If it's offering any kind of refunds, credits, or deductions, again, or limited time opportunity, that's a classic one, another big red flag. If it's pressuring you for personal or financial information, big red flag there. You never want to share your personal or financial information unless you know it is to a legitimate organization. And of course, if another big red flag is if the message or email or call, if they're telling you to pay now or else, right? They're threatening you, trying to create that sense of urgency. And again, when you get in that tunnel vision, you start to miss out on these red flags that you would normally catch. So slow down, think about it. If someone's threatening you, you should ignore it and take your time, do your proper research. So how do you know if it's the IRS? Well, again, all this comes from the IRS website. The IRS will they'll never contact you through social media. They will contact you first by U.S. Postal Service. So you know, the mail. Usually they'll do it in writing first, so you have something hard copy for you. The IRS does not, again, direct message or take payment through social media. They don't accept gift cards or prepaid debit cards. Um, they will not call you with an automated message, especially one that threatens you or directs you to websites that are not from the IRS, right? If someone is calling you saying they're a representative from the IRS and they want to send you to a link of some sort that is not the IRS's website, big red flag. If they're threatening to call law enforcement, local law enforcement, or immigration services, again, big red flag there. If they threaten to take your citizen status or driver's license or other business license, again, another big red flag there. They also, the IRS does not mail you tax debt resolution advertisements, right? That's kind of a big red flag. Sometimes you'll see, and I've seen this too in spam mail, where they'll say like it'll make it look like it's from the IRS, right? And then it says do this to take action or get help. Big red flag there, because you could actually go again to directly to the IRS to do all this yourself, to get help, to talk to them, negotiate a payment, especially if you're behind or maybe you haven't filed in a while. You could all do this by yourself. Just talk to the IRS. They're not out to get you. They're just trying to collect what's owed, right? Okay. Another thing, the IRS revenue officers, agents, and inspectors, and also their law enforcement division, they all carry IRS issued credentials and cards, and for the law enforcement, they'll have badges. So both all of these have the employee's serial number and a photo, and you can ask to see them. And at the end of the day, if someone knocks on your door claiming to be the IRS and they want to come in or they're threatening you, call the police, because the IRS will not threaten you, especially with arrest, right? They'll make their intentions known before that. Okay. So identity theft is one of the biggest causes of tax fraud. Again, a reminder, if you do have any questions, please feel free to put into the chat. I will answer any of them. I do have a bunch of questions that were emailed to me, so I'll answer those as well. But yes, if you have any questions about any things that I'm talking about, submit it in chat. More than happy to talk about it at the very end. So again, identity theft is a big reason of tax scams and tax fraud. Get help if someone has stolen your information. Common forms of identity theft will include things like from deceased persons, dependents, employment, unemployment, data breaches. And so if you have been a victim of identity theft, if you've lost your wallet, I had my wallet stolen last year. So consider getting an identity protection pin. And we're going to talk more about that in the next slide. So what is an identity theft protection pin? An identity protection pin, also known as an IP pin, is a 6-digit number that prevents someone else from filling a tax return using your social security number or individual tax identification number, also known as an ITIN, right? So again, for me, I got an IP pin because my wallet was stolen last year. And so they had everything. They have my social security card, they have my driver's license, they have credit cards. My whole wallet was stolen. And so they could technically file a tax return using all that information. And then they could just plug in whatever they want, plug in whatever information they want on my tax return and try to get a, maximize a tax return for themselves. But luckily, one of the first things I needed to do was get an IP pin. So now they cannot file a tax return without that IP pin. So the IP pin is valid for 1 calendar year. A new IP pin is generated each year for your tax account. Logging back into your online account will display your current IP pin, and you could do this through the profile tab. And again, before you can actually submit a tax return, if you have an IP pin, it'll ask for it, right? Whether you're using a software, whether you're going through a professional, it's a great way to, again, protect your taxes, your tax filings, and also your identity. An IP PIN must be used when filing, again, tax returns during the year, including prior year returns, right? So what if you've been a victim of a scam or fraud? You can report it to the IRS. For tax fraud and scams, there are several ways you can report it, including anonymously. You can also submit a whistleblower claim for the award, which, by the way, the link at the bottom of this page, irs.gov/help/report fraud. Just go there. It's got a whole list of, again, the different ways to report tax fraud or a tax scam, identity theft. You just go through the prompts. Fake IRS email or message, right? If you get one of these, you can report it to the IRS. Again, through that link below. Identity theft, right? Get help. If someone has stolen your information to commit tax fraud, do it immediately. I recommend going to identitytheft.gov. It's a portal, and it actually gives you step-by-step directions on what to take depending on what you lost, right? Maybe you just lost your driver's license. Maybe your whole wallet got stolen like mine did. So I had a whole laundry list of things I had to do. And maybe you've been a victim of data breach. It'll ask you, right? So identitytheft.gov. I'll put the link in the chat so you can go there. And again, great website. Help gives you step-by-step directions on how to recover. And of course, if you have a tax return preparer that you're using, right? If a paid preparer filed a fraudulent return or without your consent, or if they followed improper tax preparation practices, notify the IRS, right? Report it to them. Again, link below, irs.gov/help/report fraud. Great place to start. Depending on your situation, it'll kind of point you in the right direction. Okay, let's talk about getting help. The IRS has their Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, also known as VITA, and their Tax Council for the Elderly, also known as TCE. Those programs offer free tax help for taxpayers. You could actually go to this link right here. It's an IRS link. It could locate a location near you, like a VITA location or a TCE location, depending on, again, what you're qualified for. So check that out, especially if you need tax help. Maybe you've never filed your taxes before. Check it out. It's a great place to go. I'm a big proponent of VITA. They do great, excellent work. Many of them are run by nonprofits. All of them are trained by the IRS. So the IRS and other qualified professionals train these volunteered income tax preparers to help individuals submit their income tax. There's also a lot of different IRS online tools and resources. So here's some links there. You can also contact your local IRS office, and there's a link where you could find your local IRS office if you need to submit paperwork, if you need to go in for any kind of credentialing, that kind of thing. And they do have a FAQ, right? The IRS has a frequently asked questions site. It's actually pretty good, pretty comprehensive, and it'll answer a lot of different tax questions. I'm not a tax professional, so I'm not going to be able to answer any specific tax questions. But that's a great place to start. And again, the IRS, that is a legitimate source where you get answers to your tax-related questions. Okay. Q&A time. We're a little bit over, but I think I have some time. If I don't have any questions, I'm going to go to the questions that were submitted during email registration. Again, as a reminder, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit it into the Q&A. I'll be more than happy to answer what I can. I don't see any questions right now, so let me go ahead and answer this first one that was emailed to me. My CPA recently passed, and I don't know how to evaluate a qualified professional beyond verifying license. Often we find unethical people using guidelines to look legitimate but are not. Are there signs or questions that you can ask, and other red flags? Okay, this is a good question, and I feel your pain. I used to have a barber. He was great, and then he retired, and I had a long time trying to find the right barber. But what I will say is, I have a tax professional I go to. I built a lot of trust, and before him, what I did is I found myself. But when I was looking for a tax professional, I always check reviews, right? I got recommendations from friends and family, but I also did my own research. I know again, using that IRS link where you could check their directory, make sure someone is legitimately trained, has the right credentials. Beyond that, I would say talk to people you know. I'm sure you know a lot of different people. They have a lot of different friends and other networks. There might be a particular CPA or tax professional that they use and they trust. And I would not be too afraid to just check around, right? Check around, test a couple different people, and always check reputations. That's the other thing, right? Whether you're using Google reviews or Better Business Bureau, check the reviews, because that's very often a good way to also check the reputation and see testimonials and see how other people do. And the other thing is, don't feel I always recommend this. Don't be afraid to sit down and have a conversation with them, right? Sometimes some people are not people, and so they're not going to work great with you. But if you're that type of people person and you need to sit down, I recommend it. Talk to them, ask them questions, ask them tax questions, tell them your tax situation, and if they have the right answers, if they're the type of person that wants to help teach you and learn, I think that's a great type of professional to work with. So, great question. Thank you so much for asking. No questions coming in yet. So here's another question. I'm a retiree, and hold on a second. Last year, my tax refund was held up because the franchise tax board claimed they could not verify my withholdings with the EDD. I have nothing. I have nothing to do with EDD. I'm retired. Right. So this is a good question. In fact, this is more of a tax question, and I'm not I'm not qualified to answer this question. But what I would do is definitely contact the franchise tax board. I believe they have a phone number which you can call and ask them directly, because sometimes it's bureaucracy. That's all it is. It's just paperwork that gets crossed. And so, yeah, I would definitely contact them and ask them, what can I do and how can I get this tax refund moving, right? That's kind of the best I can do. Otherwise, talk to a tax professional. That's another thing. If you don't know where else to go, find someone, a CPA, and just sit down with them and have a free consultation. I say, hey, this is my situation. Can you help me? What can I do? And to be honest, many of the best CPAs and professionals out there will do a free consultation, because they really do want to help you, right? They don't necessarily need the money, because they have plenty of business already, and they just want to help people. The ones that want to take advantage of you is the ones that will charge you like $500 an hour for a consultation. Those are in it for the money and not necessarily in it to help you. So, good question. I'm sorry I wasn't able to answer it better, but thank you for submitting it. How does the new federal tax legislation impact retired seniors and their families? Specifically, if over age 75, is their deadline for returns still April 15th? Great question. So let me answer that deadline question first. Yes, the deadline to file for the deadline to file your taxes is April 15th, 2026. And I think it's a Wednesday. So you can get an extension if you need one, but you just need to file for an extension before the deadline, right? Don't wait till April 16th to file the extension. You want to file the extension before the end of April 15th to get that tax extension. Now, if you owe taxes, the deadline to pay for those taxes are still April 15th. That doesn't get extended. But you can still, again, file for an extension to do your taxes, submit your taxes, and then you might have to pay penalties for submitting late payment, that kind of thing. By the way, just a note here, and this is some notes I took. If you are due a refund, there is generally no penalty for filing late. However, you must file within 3 years of the original due date to claim your refund. So if you haven't filed in 10 years, there may be some years if you were due a refund that you actually lose out on. So look into that. Be very careful. The next part of the question was, how does the new federal tax legislation impact retired seniors and their families? So I do not know enough. And again, full disclosure, I'm not a tax professional, so I don't think I'd be qualified to answer the questions. But again, a huge recommendation here. Talk to a tax professional. Go to one of those VITA sites, right? Again, completely free. I think you do have to register for an appointment, but go in and ask them, and that's what they're there for. And if the volunteer doesn't know, they do have tax professionals on site that will be able to answer your questions for you. So I don't know for sure what the new federal tax legislation, how it impacts retirees and seniors and their families, but a qualified tax professional should be able to answer that for you. Okay, I'm going to wrap up really soon here. Last question and the last chance for anyone who wants to submit their questions in the Q&A. This question is about, sorry, I got to move my notes. Can you talk about claiming a scam loss on my tax returns? Okay, I've had this question a couple times when I've done workshops. Can you claim a scam loss on your tax returns? Short answer is yes, but it's very, very specific. It's very specific. In fact, I'm gonna do this. I'm going to put a link into the chat. Okay, into chat, and this actually comes from the IRS. There's a blog post they write about it, which they talk about the IRS Chief Counsel advice on theft loss deductions for scam victims. There is very specific circumstances where you can claim a scam loss. It has to be in relation to some kind of profit action. So let's just say you had a business and you got scammed. You may be able to claim that loss, right? But if you were a victim of like a romance scam or some kind of I don't know, some kind of Medicare scam, you're probably not going to be able to claim that loss. If it was an investment scam, maybe. Again, maybe. I would highly recommend you read this article. Again, the link is in the chat. Where it talks more about specific circumstances where it might apply to you. There's also a form you have to fill out. So check that out, right? And that's all I could talk about. There's a lot of nuance, I want to say. And again, I would refer you to a tax professional who might be able to look at your specific situation and be able to tell you more if you qualify to claim any kind of loss, due to scam on your taxes. But I do get this question quite a lot when I do my workshops and other webinars. With that, I do want to say, again, reminders. Next month, February 4th at 1 p.m., we will have another webinar. This one, we're going to be talking about how to protect yourself from romance scams. So please register for that webinar. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the DFPI's email newsletter. And the link to that is dfpi.ca.gov/subscribe. And then we have our YouTube channel where again, we'll be publishing this video. It's youtube.com/CADFPI. Please subscribe to us. And with that, I want to say thank you for attending. Thank you for registering and joining. And please take care of yourself and each other. Thank you so much. Have a great day.